Russell and Annie, I am so grateful to be here and really, really appreciate you taking the time. And I'm glad we could make this time to connect here in your home, no less, on Ecobricks, no less, to hear the Ecobrick story and your story. And so yeah, look, what I'd love to start with, maybe by way of introduction, just a little bit about you and the Ecobrick story. And
Sure. Okay, maybe I'll start with my story from the Philippines and how this all began.
Yeah, please.
It all began with a little vacation to the Philippines. So my background is as a professional artist, and I was working in Canada and Europe, based in Paris, with a beautiful girlfriend, and we took off together for a 3-week vacation to the Philippines. In the midst of those 3 weeks, I was dumped. Heartbroken. I remained in the Philippines, headed up north for a little vacation to get some headspace.
Okay.
She went back to Paris and left me there. And at that point, my life began to fall apart. So my finances, my contracts, and my patrons, it all just started to unravel up in the mountains of the northern Philippines.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. And from there, one thing led to another, and I missed my visa renewal. I missed renewing my passport.
Oh.
I just ran out of everything. So I was essentially stuck in the northern Philippines for 4.5 years, unable to leave.
4.5 years?
4.5 years on a 3-week tourist visa. So, yeah. In a remote indigenous village, way up in the jungle mountains of the Philippines. There, the Igorits, that's the name of the indigenous people, they took me in, and I did some exchanges with painting, for food, and things like that to survive. And little by little, I was able to kind of rebuild my life. One of the challenges, though, that I faced was, as an artist, it was really hard to come by the materials for my craft, for canvases and paints and things like that. However, there was a lot of this stuff kicking around in the fields and the roads, and even myself. You know, I would have some chips, I would have some coffee in a sachet or whatnot, and I would have this plastic left over. So I began to get creative with the plastic and make bags and trinkets and things like that could be exported or sold or whatnot. And that went well, but I began, as it continued, I reflected on it more and more. And up there, you have to imagine, this is the 16 hours from Manila, in the mountains. There's no recycling facilities whatsoever. There's no official dump sites or anything like that. And the question of exactly where all this plastic was going, even after we'd converted into a mat or a bag or a purse or whatnot, where was it going to go after that? One day I followed my neighbors as they took my plastic waste away. I just assumed it was going somewhere responsible, but one day I decided to follow them. They took it down to the beautiful river, and there they burnt it and dumped it into the river where all the kids swim and where we get the fish and all this stuff. And I was heartbroken. So I began to explore other possibilities for the plastic. And we came up with this way of taking the plastic and just putting it into bottles, stuffing it in, packing it in there to make a brick. I built my little garden with them, and it was fantastic. All this plastic that otherwise would have been burnt and dumped, I got to use to make my garden space, and it worked great. So from there, I shared it with my neighbors, who then shared it with the school, and got me down there to do a little talk, and we did a little art project with the kids, and we cleaned up the entire neighborhood from plastic.
Wow.
The villagers, all my neighbors, were super happy. They passed me on to the next school, and the next, and the next. After a dozen schools, and all the great feedback from everyone, from the teachers to the principals to the old ladies, they were coming up to me, thanking me for this initiative. With my colleague in the board of administration for the school system, we managed to get it out to 200 schools.
Wow.
Yeah, 200 schools began doing it. 6 months later, the reports came in, and they were all incredibly enthusiastic and positive about the results.
Wow.
Yeah, so these communities that had nowhere to put the plastic before suddenly had something to do with it. And not only was it someplace to put it, but it was something to make with it. So that from there they could use it for useful things, for their home, for their community, for their school. It was just fantastic. So it continued to spread. And by the time I managed to leave the Philippines, we had got our guidebook crafted and distributed to 2 school regions, almost 10,000 schools in all,
Wow.
250,000 students.
Wow.
This is all within 2 years. So this is me, without any funds,
Yeah.
without working with an NGO, without any sponsorship from the Canadian government or Bottle Corporation, just me, just going around on my bamboo bicycle, village to village.
Yep.
I was able to get 250,000 students ecobricking.
Wow.
Not just making ecobricks, but becoming more and more conscious about the plastic they were consuming and how and where it was going to go afterwards, right? So we were making stuff, we were raising consciousness, and then people started to build playgrounds and parks
Wow.
and even houses with the ecobricks. And just transforming is a little bit of a cliche, but transforming a problem into a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's, when you reflect on that now, what year was that? When you were the first holiday?
Yeah, about 2009.
Okay.
I got stuck there. Yeah.
And you reflect on that experience now. How's it feel? When you, and it's okay. I mean, what?
Yeah. It was one of the hardest periods of my life. So I was really down in the dumps about being stuck there.
Yeah.
You know, it was a moment of my life where I had very little and felt very powerless.
Yeah.
Completely powerless. I missed my grandfather's funeral. I missed my brother's wedding. You know, it just broke my heart not to be able to leave. But I didn't have a passport. I didn't have a visa, and I was marooned in the mountains. And it was a difficult time. Yet, wow! Somehow, miraculously, we were able to begin this movement with the Ecobricks.
So when you consider 10,000 schools, 250,000 children, and all the tons of plastic probably that's not getting burnt and dumped into the ocean, into the fish, into the... It's not flowing out into the Pacific, it's not clogging up all the waterways, it's not pumping carbon into the atmosphere. How's that feel?
That feels really good. It feels really good. Because some of these villages were so close to my heart. You know, I lived there and I was part of the community. I learned the language. And they were so beautiful places. Yet you'd see the plastic littered around.
Yeah.
And to know that not so much plastic is going into the environment now, that's really fulfilling. That's good. Yeah.
And you mentioned language. You've got a few languages.
I do, yeah. Yes. 5, 6, 7, something like that. Yeah.
Bit of an interest, bit of a passion.
Well, I tend to get grounded or stuck in places.
Yeah.
And for me, it's really important to be able to connect with my neighbors in their language, right?
Yeah.
And the northern Philippines was no exception.
Yeah, right. And how long have you been in Bali now?
It's been a year and a half.
All right. And how's your bahasa?
Yeah, visa sa di sini 1 tahun setengah.
All right. Better than mine.
Okay.
After nearly 3 years.
Okay.
That's good.
Almost 2 years, ya.
Okay, hampir 2 tahun.
Hampir
Yeah.
2 tahun.
Yeah. All right.
And before we go to Annie, what brought you to Bali? So what was we're up here in the mountains,
Okay.
now we're here.
Okay. All right.
Fill me in.
Well, there's a little bit of jump between making it out of the Philippines. That's a story in itself. I managed to get out with the help of all the community leaders who had been working with me at the time, and they all wrote letters to the immigration departments, and we were able to clear out my
We
visa.
know this guy.
Yeah. I got my passport, was able to get back, and then I was hearing lots of stories about the plastic here in Bali. Friends were telling me about how much plastic was washing up on the beaches of Bali.
Yep.
And I saw the pictures. I was invited to come here, and in much the same way, but with more clarity, I was able to make it here to Bali. I began with $100 in my pocket here in Bali, and one connection after another has led me to where I am now with my partner Annie here, and together we're sharing Ecobricks here in Indonesia.
Wow. So when did you arrive in Bali? Most of
2015.
All of 15.
2015, that would be, yeah, that's right, 2015, because then 2016 March would be 1 year.
Yeah.
And now it's a little bit more than
A little bit more than that. Cool. And so how did this happen? Where'd this beautiful woman come from?
Yeah,
I want to hear a little bit
sure,
from you
sure.
too, Annie.
Yeah. Well, why don't you share your story with community empowerment, Annie, that side, so you
Oh
can,
yeah, okay.
like the trajectory that takes you to Ecobricks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. My background is anthropology. Okay, I'm Annie. My background is anthropology. I'm more into the community empowerment program.
What is
So
anthropology? Tell me about that. What's that mean? It's a big word. You sound very intelligent. Yeah, wow.
It's what?
I just went to school to eat my lunch, you see.
What's that? It's the knowledge of culture. It's about culture.
Knowledge of culture.
About culture, about social, about yeah. But then I also studied about sociology and development sociology. So I've been working for maybe 15 years, all about community empowerment program or women empowerment program. So I was working with NGOs, research institutions, international NGOs, UN and other like international like the World Bank. And I moved here also 2015, so I quit job
Okay.
after traveling Indonesia and traveling around the
From
world.
Java.
From
to
Java,
Bali.
yes, to
Yeah.
Bali. And I started with my friends. We are having like idea to open a creative space, like a space for people can share, can exchange, can learn, especially for young people for Indonesia. So in that time when I was settling down here in Bali, and my friend like just informed me about Ecobrick workshop, and I
Okay.
was like, okay, I heard about Ecobrick. I wasn't really into like environment because I'm more like social movement, but
Sure.
I'm like, oh, this is related to social movement maybe because it heard at the time like I heard that you're working with schools in 100 schools. So yeah, I came to the workshop, and then it turns only few people, and then I was like, okay, and we had really nice conversation. I was really in the beginning I was not easy to get impressed. Yeah, I was like
Okay.
I had
Yeah.
so many questions at that time. Like, okay, so why you started with schools? Because I usually work with the community.
Sure.
Which is for me, it's more complicated. And in school, I say like, yeah, this is smart because then you have 100 students, and you started with teachers, and then you just teach, and then the students will do whatever teachers say.
Sure.
Right? While I was more with community and with so many levels, so many backgrounds,
Yeah.
so many, the one in the community, you have just so various households and any profession, which is like so difficult to put in one issue or something. And then with
Yeah.
Ecobrick
Yeah.
and schools, like, oh, this is smart. And it's
Yeah.
like I was curious because I've never tried with school, but always with community or with women group or with something like that. And then so
When we
That
first
was all
met,
by design, right?
Right,
You kind of looked at all
right,
the options and went, schools, that's the way to get this into the community.
right, it was luck. Yeah, in the beginning in the Philippines, I was reproducing what happened in the Philippines, trying to see
Yeah.
if I could make the same thing happen here. And at first, Annie was really skeptical, actually. So
yeah,
when
so many questions.
so many questions, and Annie's been very humble. So when she says she's worked with communities, what she really means is she's worked in almost every single province of Indonesia, at
From Aceh to Papua, Borneo,
remote
everywhere.
villages, through the World Bank, through the UN, through other world projects, at the highest level and the lowest level. And so she's seen how good projects have been done and how bad projects have been done. And so she's very skeptical about any type of social movement or,
Yeah, sure.
or a way to approach things. So I had to explain a lot of how it was working. And at first she didn't believe that it was all happening without any money or without any funding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fair enough too, because that's not how we hear of things being done.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a dream, was it this morning or yesterday morning? I woke up 4 a.m. I remember I was getting up to go meditate anyway, and I woke up like in a shock, and I'd been, it was like a game show or a TV. I mean, we haven't had a TV in our home for years and years and years, no TV, and it was like a screen kept popping up, and this presenter guy was saying how what a wonderful job they're doing. They're raising all this money for the planet. And they were popping up on the screen with $100 here and $10,000 there and $5,000 and $50,000 here and $20 there. And I was looking at it and they go, look at that, and everyone was applauding. And I was like, oh, wonderful what we're doing for the
Right.
planet. And I remember bawling my eyes out. I was in
Wow.
tears because I'm going, the planet doesn't want money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't need money. It needs people to care and take action. And I woke
Yeah.
up with that, and I went, that was really bizarre, right? But you're right. I mean, we think that money is the answer to just about everything, really.
Yeah, when we talk about development and community empowerment, it's always like the intervention started with money.
Yeah.
And it's like all like paradigm, like people will do something only if
There's
there's
money
money.
involved.
But yeah, I had experience in a small communities, but it worked without money. But then when it's like scale up, then I was really like, really? And then what he was doing, when I heard that your story, like 10,000, it's like schools, like, whoa, that's great. And then that's really like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, my observation in the Philippines was that money was actually the problem. So,
How do you mean?
well, many NGOs will try to do social development projects, and they'll do so by raising funds and
Yeah.
coming and bringing equipment or bringing goods or food or whatnot. But in all these cases, I would watch dependency start to emerge. So the communities become dependent on the aid or the machines or whatever that comes in. And also with the money would come
More plastic.
more plastic, because what are you going to do with money? You're going to buy stuff.
Yeah.
And stuff is packaged in plastic, right?
Yeah.
So the more money involved, the more plastic was inevitably produced. So by doing work that doesn't involve money, that involves just sharing of skills or knowledge, and sharing a technique that works without a need for special skills, without a need for special machines, without needing money or politicians, you empower people to do things on their own.
Wow.
Yeah. So by sharing a technique that doesn't rely on money, that doesn't rely on special skills,
High
special
technology.
machines, high technology, or even politicians, you empower the people.
Yeah.
They take it,
Yeah.
they run with it, and then they pass it on to other people, and it just takes a life of its own.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I want to kind of zoom out a little bit, and then we'll zoom right back into the Ecobricks. But before I do, I had another question. What was the first thing you thought? You come to this Ecobrick thing, whatever this weird rubbish thing is, right? And this guy doing stuff with schools and whatever, and you saw this guy. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the first thing you thought?
I got invitation, and I like through Facebook.
Yeah.
I didn't even check. It's just me. I don't check people. I was like, okay, I'm going.
Perfect.
And I was there, and it's like it's already so many modules, right? It's so many
many
modules,
Ecobricks,
so ecobricks and everything. I was like, what? It's like really? This is like 100 students really packing, and you're, embrace the plastic. You touch you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay.
Not so many people. There may be very few people really dealing or loving or embracing plastic as part of your life and
Sure.
really
Oh,
making
yeah.
something. So it's really like, yeah, it's really wow. And then
Wow.
move people. So that's really more.
And you saw him?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
the first
saw
time?
him. The first time I saw him, like
Anything there?
it's
No?
more like whoa, something like that. It's like whoa.
Whoa! All right. Do you remember that moment?
I do. Yeah. We actually took a picture together. And,
Wow.
we posed with the modules, and I could tell that there was something special there. So I kind
Alright.
of put my hand a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
Oh!
I noticed that. I was like, what? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so when Annie describes her background, she's being modest. She's worked with the World Bank. She's worked in all sorts of areas and communities of Indonesia, and she's got tremendous experience with community empowerment. And so you can see the parallel with my work and her work.
Absolutely.
Best of all, she's been doing it here in Indonesia, whereas I'm just a white guy who's arrived off the plane and trying to get things started. So
Sure.
the confluence of my background in the Philippines with Ecobricks and Annie's experience with community empowerment
Yeah.
has been tremendous.
Wow.
Together, her and I doing presentations in Indonesian and English to schools, to community groups, to women's groups. We've been able to connect with community, connect with people, and see the movement spread in ways that I could never have imagined before here in
Wow.
Indonesia.
That's an absolute credit to you. So if we were to, I think that's a really cool segue too. So if we zoomed out for a moment and we considered not just what's happening here in Philippines and Indonesia, and there's a whole bunch of cool stuff happening. But if we look at globally,
Sure.
some of the biggest challenges that's facing humanity now and over the next few generations, what do you reckon we're going to have to deal with? What do you reckon the biggest challenges that we're looking at on a global scale?
Okay. Well, let me see if I can get into that from an interesting angle. So when we look at this plastic here, what we're seeing is really one of the most visible ugly consequences of capitalism, right? Again, if we buy stuff, it comes in plastic. Plastic, in many ways, is a symbol of the problems we have with capitalism in the world today. If you buy stuff, it comes wrapped in plastic. If you consume anything, it's in plastic. So around the world today, we're connected by the problem of plastic. And the problem of plastic is the most visible consequence of capitalism. It's the tip of the iceberg, right? So there's so many other problems the world is facing today. Plastic is a representative of that. Now, what's also interesting is plastic is made from petroleum, natural gas or petroleum. And so in so many ways also it's a representation of our dependence and how this age, the civilization we have today, is run on gas and petrol and oil, right? So by starting to deal with the tip of the iceberg, by starting to deal with just this small little bit of plastic, we enter into the problems. We enter into the challenges. We start to see the paradigm at the root of all the plastic and the problems of the world today. So by dealing with it, we get a chance to transform the plastic into something else and rise above the problematic paradigm.
Wow. So tell me more about that. What's the answer here? What are we dealing with right now? And then the next one we're going to go is like, what's the potential for this? What's the possibility? What's the vision that you have for it?
All right. Okay. Well, it's interesting because this connects with what you were talking about before. Plastic, although we're as environmentalists are really hard on plastic, right? They think this is the devil.
This is bad stuff.
This is the worst.
Filling up the ocean, filling up the landfill, clogging up the waterways.
Lasting forever, right? But the interesting thing is, plastic comes from a century of scientists striving to make the world better. They invented this stuff to make the world a better place. Before we were killing the whales for oil. We were chopping down trees to make bags. And so scientists worked really hard to come up with this stuff to make the world a better place. And so it comes out of a story.
It's so ironic, isn't it?
It is, but it's so important to remember this, that plastic isn't evil. Plastic is just a bunch of molecules that are combined in a certain way that happen to make something that lasts a long time, right? That's not a good thing or a bad thing. It just is what it is. And we, to our detriment or to our benefit, we realize that. When we're not aware of it, we'll take this piece of plastic and we'll burn it, or we'll dump it, or maybe we'll recycle it. And for me, those aren't good things. Those aren't a responsible way to deal with plastic. It's also not a great idea to make a one-time use product with something that's going to last forever, right? So it's coming from this paradigm of trying to sell stuff and sell the next thing, buying, using, throwing away. Transcending that, transcending those lines of buying, using, throwing away, right? It's a dead-end line. Cradle to grave. Of course, in the world today, we don't have lines. In the natural world, we don't have lines, we have circles. In nature, you go in a forest, there's no such thing as waste. There's just circles of use and reuse. Now, I shared about my story being stranded in the Philippines in an indigenous village. One of the things that struck me the most was how their culture then and now had no concept of waste. So in the Igorot language, there is no word for garbage. There is no word for pollution. There is no word for dump sites. It was a concept that didn't exist. Right?
So of course, in the natural world, there'd be no need for that kind of language because this completely made up thing that we've created probably recently.
Yeah, it is. And it's so interesting to trace the the etymological history of the word trash and where it comes from in our language.
Tell me. I love language.
Okay.
Etymology and history, origin. Yeah, tell me.
Right, okay, all right.
Let's go.
All right, so it's so interesting to trace the etymology of the concept of trash in our contemporary. Okay, it's so interesting to trace the etymology of the word trash in our culture today.
Yeah.
It has its roots in the Christian idea of heaven and hell.
Really?
It does. So, back in the day before plastic, in England and Scotland or whatnot, people had a word for trash, but it didn't mean something that was useless. It just meant something that was kind of out of place, something like dirt, for example, a stick or a leaf that's on the floor and it's not
Something needs to be
appropriate.
cleaned away.
Right.
Okay.
But as the Christian ideas of heaven and hell and useless and valueless and bad and evil started to come in, so too came the Industrial Revolution. And it became, began to have these substances that didn't have a use anymore. And so it became very useful to label them as useless, right?
Wow.
Worthless, valueless. And of course that doesn't exist in nature. It didn't exist before. But as we started moving into these new petroleum-based substances,
Yep.
we began to apply our religious mindset of good and bad to substances and to matter and material.
Sure.
Right? And so we began to condemn things, to call something trash evolved to condemn it as worthless and useless.
Wow.
Right? And what do you do with a condemned soul? You throw it to hell, you burn it, right? You
Burn
go
in
to the
hell.
fiery pits, right? And our dump sites in our world today, they look a lot like hell. They look a lot like the inferno. You know?
Yeah.
All these gases bubbling up from the ground and things burning forever in the dump sites,
Dead.
Yeah.
Dead animals. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're not heavenly places.
They're not heavenly places at all because we're condemning something. We're judging and condemning plastic just through the words and the language we use, right? So when Annie and I in our presentations, we avoid the word trash as much as we possibly can because we're conscious that it contains this condemnation.
Yeah.
We're condemning just by calling this trash to a certain fate. Right? Like literally, if I call this trash, it's probably going to end up in a smoldering dump site somewhere. Right? So we can start to see these parallels between the religious background of humanity, Christian Western views, evolving to the world we have and are living in
And
today.
that language being an expression of intention, and that's where that's going. Because as creators, that's what we get to do.
Exactly.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. Very good. Well
Wow.
said. Yeah.
That's awesome. That-
Okay.
And really, I mean, it's interesting because I look at, is this language influencing culture and behavior and outcomes, or is it language defining or expressing what was happening anyway?
Right.
And
Yeah.
how's it go? And that's be an interesting.
Right, which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah,
type thing,
totally.
right? But as we know, so much, it really comes from our mind first and
Of
foremost.
course.
Our intentions, the way we think about things, even if we're conscious of it or we're not, it determines our reality. And so much better to be conscious rather than unconscious. Otherwise, we end up with giant gyros in the ocean and mammoth dump sites burning out of control, So this is where Annie and our work comes in. It's not just how to pack an eco-brick, how to pack plastic in a brick, but it's raising consciousness about the perils of plastic that people just aren't aware of. People don't know that if you burn this, it makes a poisonous gas that you're going to choke on and could cause cancer and birth defects in the future. People don't know that if you leave this in the sun, that it's going to photodegrade into small particles that will gradually infiltrate the water system and the earth and then be absorbed by the plants, and we're going to eat it and consume it, and disease. Right?
That's what's going to happen. So, wow,
Okay.
and thank you. And we're looking at plastic as really the tip of the iceberg of this issue of the whole consumerism and really how the whole system's broken. And plastic as trash is the evidence of that. And we're going, well, hang on a minute, what if everything was valuable, everything had a place, and we could actually do something with it?
Right.
So following that train of thought, what do you see as, and we'll come, well, I think what we'll do is we'll look at the vision, but then come back to some of the solutions and how we're going to get there.
Sure.
So what do you see as, best case scenario? If all this works, we make it, my sister was wrong,
Right.
hallelujah, and...
Yeah. Well, you want to say something about that? Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, Patrick, I feel we need a little bit more love in the world today. I mean, we've got some love going on here.
Sure.
But we also need some love going on here with the plastic.
All right.
We've been hating and condemning this stuff too long, to our peril.
Mm-hmm.
By loving plastic, and I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but that's the step that we need to take next, is loving the plastic. When you hate something, when you resist something and you push it away, that's when problems start to happen. But when we put our consciousness and our intention on something, embrace it, then things start to change. So by loving plastic, well, here in our house, what Annie and I do is we take care of this stuff. We don't just put it away and chuck it someplace. We have a bin for our plastic. We have a bin for our paper. We have a bin for our biodegradables.
Mm-hmm.
And we are careful to clean the plastic before we put it in the bin. We segregate it, make sure it's all orderly, and then once a week, Annie and I take our Ecobrick stick and we pack this into a bottle.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And as you can see, here in our house, we build our furniture with our
And
plastic.
surprisingly comfy. I was looking at this going, how long are we going to sit on the bed? This is great.
Good, I'm glad.
Yeah. Really good. So, well, that's cool. And you sound like a little bit of an interesting statement. A little bit woo-woo when you go, hey, we've got to love the plastic, man. But I get where you're coming from. That's actually a practical solution. You're talking about a mindset shift.
Yeah.
So what would be the natural outcome if we had more people really loving plastic and embracing it rather than shunning it and condemning it? What's possible for humanity and Earth if we could do that?
Sure. Yeah, well, I think the first step in loving plastic is to take a closer look at it, not just to chuck it away mindlessly, but to consider where it's come from, what it's made of, its properties, and where it's going.
Right.
So this
Tell me about that.
this substance we've got here is going to last a long time, right?
I think it's so cool. We're having this interview, having this guy, you're sitting there with a plastic bag in your
Yeah,
hand,
I
and
know.
we're having this profound conversation. Did you see this plastic bag that, like, we made 100 of them for 2 cents or whatever it is, but it's
Right.
like, it's so...
Yeah, well, if you think of all the
let's
work
go,
that's
let's
been
go.
made, that's gone through to develop this stuff, to make this what it is. The factories, the oil rigs and everything involved in the production of this amazing material. Look, it's transparent, it's waterproof,
Flexible,
flexible.
strong.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff. And to just throw it away is a little bit silly, right? So Ecobricks and our work with Ecobricks is a way to take advantage and to leverage the benefits of plastic and put them to use,
Cool.
right? So if it lasts forever, why don't we use it to make something to build with, right?
That we want to last for a long time.
Exactly.
That makes
right?
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
It's like always in our presentation, like the first question is like, when do you use plastic? And then people start like talking, oh, I use this, and then what is plastic? And then what do you do with plastic? And then it's just like, the realization is like, okay, with the, how do you call it, sweep?
Yep.
It's like you buy in 1 second,
Yep.
and that's it. And
Sure.
you just dump
Plastic.
it. So then, we start with that. But wait, about loving plastic, remember that we had really conversation, like argument about it.
Uh-huh.
He it's about his statement, and I was like, really? Are you sure? Are you serious?
I love
was
the
like,
plastic.
Well, I know what he meant, but when people heard about it, it's like, what? It means like, well, and then fortunately, in every time we have a workshop, we have 1 or 2 hours before, so it's not about how to, but why. And then so we explain, and of course, like it's more like ecological consciousness, and it's more like the goal is like the consumption behavior.
Yeah.
And how reduce our consumption. Let's go organic.
Sure.
But if you already have a plastic, if you somehow have plastic and have to use plastic, you know what you have to do with the plastic. That's actually, we have to love it, right?
Yeah.
So then that's, we for example, the Ecobrick, the ones that you you sit on. It's pretty clean and dry, and then people really segregate since the beginning without we have to tell like, oh, you have to segregate this. But once it's only plastic, and then people like, okay, then I have to put special like bin for the plastic and keep it dry, and then so with care and with with the care and love, because they know that it can be something. So I think that
The other interesting consequence is people start to question whether it's a good idea to buy that thing if it's wrapped in plastic. Can they ecobrick that plastic? If they can't ecobrick it, where's it going to go? What's going to happen afterwards? So what I've observed in my work sharing ecobricks is an awareness and a consciousness about plastic that results in a reduction in consumption.
Yeah.
Right? Plastic in so many ways is the symptom. It's not the problem per se. It's the symptom of consumption. So consumption is the real challenge we've got on the planet today that we need to address. Plastic is just something is a consequence of that.
Sure.
So with ecobricking and becoming conscious and loving the plastic, we start to make decisions about your consumption and the materials you choose. Annie and I, we ecobrick every bit of plastic in our house, but we're very careful about the plastic that comes into our house. We avoid the styrofoam because it's really a pain to ecobrick. We try our best to make everything in our house or choose everything in our house from organic materials, because that just gets around the problem altogether.
Perfect.
So you see our tea set here, clay cups,
Beautiful.
bamboo mats, our Annie's iPhone case is bamboo,
Our what's that? Oh, that is one of the workshop, participants. How about your toothbrush? And we
How
said,
about your toothbrush?
Bamboo.
Bamboo.
yeah.
And your comb? Yeah, we have no plastic.
No
Comb for your hair.
Like
Yeah.
wooden stuff or something. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's so happy time whenever we have a workshop, because then, the conversation is it's not about how to make this in the beginning, but it's really like all about the lifestyle, and then after we give more information and like ecological consciousness, and then people start really conscious about everything they have, because you already have this and this. If I have this little, for example, bottle or something, then it's so difficult to ecobrick, because you cannot rely on recycled things.
Sure.
Especially here in Indonesia, you cannot just dump somewhere, you cannot just put anywhere. So if this is solution, then I'm really I have really think what plastic I buy, because then if I'm done with that, then I can put here. So that's really very nice conversation. I was
sure.
day to day, very little things. Whenever we go to the shop, we choose everything is wrapped in a plastic or paper or less plastic or something like that. So it's people really start. Wow, yeah, it's really
Hey,
start.
you mentioned recycling. We can't really counter recycling. It's not a great idea. And you said something about recycling a little bit
sure,
earlier.
Sure, yeah, we can touch on that.
Let's go there.
Okay, all
Okay.
right. That's good for
Interesting.
Western people because, okay, right.
And
Yeah.
recycling is the answer, right? It's a solution. I put all
Yeah,
my rubbish
right.
in this bin. I've got my compost out the back. I put all the plastic in the recycling bin.
Yeah.
The council take it away, and I can
Right.
feel good.
You
I
can
can
feel
sleep
good.
good at night.
gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
My house is clean, and it's
Yeah.
recycling because it says so on the rubbish bin. And the truck comes and it says recycling.
Yeah.
It's got a picture of a sunflower and fluffy white clouds, and
Okay.
life's good.
Well, let me ask you, Patrick. So this is a PET bottle.
Yep.
That's imminently recyclable. The recycling truck will take this no problem, right?
Perfect.
Have you ever seen an aqua bottle or a mineral water bottle that says made from recycled material on it?
Well, no, but I'm sure other things are made out of recycled plastic.
Well,
Aren't they?
but think about the bottle though, right? Because when we think about recycling, we're imagining this nice little circle where you, like in nature, where a leaf falls down to the forest floor, it decomposes, its nutrients are used by the next tree to grow, and it goes around in a perfect circle.
Sure.
A bottle like this, a PET bottle, is hardly ever recycled. Shoot. A PET bottle is never made from recycled plastic. There might be one company in Australia that can do it, from my research, but from my experience working in a recycling factory in Canada, seeing countless bottles in the world, the bottles are not made from recycled plastic. Bottles are not recycled back into new bottles. The idea that recycling is a perfect solution, perfect cycle, The idea that recycling is a perfect circle is an illusion.
Huh.
Yeah. So, you want to go on that, Annie?
Yeah.
What's going on, Annie? What is,
It's more. This is also part of our conversation whenever we have a workshop. This is so nice. Yeah, but okay. This is we think that recycle is like 100% like this, right? Or like like this. But what happened with the bottle is actually downcycle, right?
okay.
Right, yeah.
So means like with this type of bottle, okay, will be processed, will be recycled to be something else with a lower quality. And it's all
Yeah.
like again and again and again and again. So it's always like the quality is lower, and it's anyway there's always left over, like something that is not 100% recycled. So it's always there is a small percentage or small percent that is really we don't know where they go.
Yeah. Back when I returned to Canada, I took a job on purpose at a recycling center in my hometown. I went there despite the advice of the job guy that it was the worst job in the city and I should find another job. I went there so
That's
I
probably
could...
a clue.
Yeah, it wasn't the nicest place. I was working mainly with immigrants who couldn't find another job in the city because they didn't speak English yet. So
Sure.
it was the worst job in the
But
city.
you're a man on a mission.
Yeah,
you don't care about the worst
I
job in the
wanted
city.
to find out what happens to plastic in my country.
Yeah.
Where does it go after we put it in the blue box? So I got a job on the line where all the plastic comes in that's been put in the blue boxes. It gets dumped on a conveyor belt, and then we would sort it out. And there were lots of machines to help us out. One of my jobs was to sweep up the pile of overflow. So this conveyor belt would go through, and things would be just selected in different points of the belt. But some of it would spill off. A lot would spill off. And my job was to sweep that up into the landfill pile. And so my first observation was that, wow, in this pile, going to the landfill, there was lots of aluminum cans, PET bottles, HCDP bottles, things of high value that technically should have been recycled, but weren't getting
You
recycled.
couldn't take it and put it back in the front? And
That wasn't
Just
being done.
wasn't the process.
It wasn't being done, and and this is the issue with recycling. It's just not perfect.
Sure.
No matter how many times you put it back onto the belts, there's always going to be some that doesn't
something
make it.
falling off.
You know. So even in the street around our place here, there are pamulongs, there are trash guys who will pick up the plastic, but they don't get all of it. There's some that just doesn't get picked up, and so you can imagine a plastic bottle, even if it can get recycled, it's not going to get recycled all the time. There's going to be some outflow from that circle. And in fact, there's a lot of outflow. So that was my observation of the plant. So much was not getting recycled and just sitting to the plant. My other observation was that the plastic that was getting recycled wasn't getting recycled in Ottawa, in my town. It was getting sent to the Philippines. It was getting sent to Germany. It was getting sent to Japan to be processed there. I had this profound moment on the recycling line. Most people have profound spiritual moments in the forest, right? Of interconnecting with nature. But I had this profound moment. I was kind of lulled into a trance by all the machines and the grinding noises and just the monotony of this terrible job, to a connection between myself and the vast network of gray machinery and industry crisscrossing the planet that makes recycling happen.
Wow.
So nature recycles within 10 square meters a leaf, right?
Yep.
We recycle a bottle, and this is going to go on a journey bouncing around the world from one factory to a superstore, to a super tanker, to a super ship, all over the place, consuming who knows how much energy, and also just furthering and increasing this lattice of grayness on the planet. Not green, but gray, right? And I could feel my connection to the guy in China at some manufacturing plant making the next product from the recycled plastic, you know? And my connection to the Walmart worker who was going to have to process it at the cashier. You know, I could just feel my interconnection with it all. And it wasn't a good feeling. So recycling, okay, it's a temporary solution, but it's not a circle. If anything, it's a spiral, a downward spiral that eventually takes plastic back into the biosphere. Because there's really nowhere else for it to go. Recycling, I don't know about you, but I learned recycling back in grade school. Yeah? You too? Annie? 3 R's? Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Despite us learning that in our countries, that hasn't reduced the amount of plastic going into the ocean, has it? If anything, it's increased over the last little while. And I see this really clearly. I felt this clearly back in Canada. Recycling, it puts us into a spell that everything's okay. That we can go on consuming, buying our water and drink in PET bottles, buying our razors, our toothbrushes, and we can use them, dispose of them in a blue box, and everything's okay. We can go on consuming, and there's a good thing to do with it when it's done. And that lets us keep on consuming. And so the amount of plastic that's produced, that's discharged into the biosphere just continues to grow.
And the dump site, like,
Right. Yeah.
So on that cycle, we take a PET bottle and go, all right, we're going to recycle that. Just trying to figure it out now. What can that be recycled into? Because as you mentioned, that never gets put into another brand new PET bottle.
Yeah. So what might happen with this PET bottle is that it will get picked up by a trash guy or a recycling truck. It'll be taken to a recycling plant, melted down. But because there's some impurities in there, there's a good chance it won't be recycled into PET1. It'll get downcycled into another form of plastic. That is useful. It can be used again, but its value has diminished.
Gotcha.
And its value to the guys who pick it up, to the recycling trucks, has also diminished. And the likelihood of it being recycled again has also gone down. So gradually, the more we recycle the plastics, the more it goes down and value just decreases, till finally it's made into something like this. So this is, I enjoy coffee, and this was my coffee. Yeah, this is silver plastic that is just not recycled anywhere. So I've been traveling around the world and checking out dump sites and recycling facilities. No one recycles this stuff. It's almost impossible to recycle. There's maybe a few different innovations for it.
So this is 100% plastic. I thought this was foil or something.
The silver plastic, this is like,
Silver plastic.
there's a little bit of aluminum in here,
Okay.
but this is like the silver plastic of chip wrappers,
Yeah.
right? Or of chocolate bars.
That's
Where
plastic.
you've got a color on the
I didn't know
outside.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
This might be a little higher aluminum content than
Okay.
the chip bags,
Yep.
but those chip bags, and there's lots of them,
Yeah.
they can't be recycled. So they just end up in the landfills, they end up getting scattered, and back to the biosphere.
Wow.
yeah, and recycle is always about money too. I mean, if in the local context like Indonesia, you see the pemulung, the trash guy,
Mm-hmm.
they pick only the valuable plastic. They know well which type of the plastic.
Yeah, of course.
And then so the rest
So they're
is
leaving
like,
all the chip bags and
it's also
coffee
like
bags.
I don't know,
Exactly.
the graphic, the type is also like up and down, the price. Remember we went to one
Yeah.
bank sampah and then they said now that Yakult is not recyclable. So means no one will pick Yakult. So
The small
no
little
one
yogurt bottles,
means Yakult will just end up somewhere because no trash guys will pick them.
Those little
And
little
then,
yogurt
yeah.
little ones.
And it's also we studied about how the travel of the plastic, So it's when about local and international and everything is here in Indonesia. The maximum they bring to some type of plastic, they will transport to Surabaya, and then the other like even Germany, and the other somewhere else, which is actually no one knows about this. It's just like, oh, we heard that but it's not here, so that's why
It's going
like,
somewhere
it's
else.
going somewhere else. And with Ecobrick is actually about prevention, right, and about responsibility that you use plastic,
Yeah.
and then you have to do something with your own plastic. That's it. So you don't have to
You bought
rely
it.
on you bought
You
it.
take
Just be
care of it.
responsible, yes, with
Okay.
that. So it's really put in your house, in your community, and just here locally, so you can use something.
Tell me more
useful,
about that.
something.
What's the solution
Okay.
here?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, I suppose the first part is realizing that the plastic is part of our story, our a human story of evolving slowly towards being able to turn petrochemicals into this, and then starting to realize it's a bad idea. Starting to realize we've got way too much of it, it's being used for the wrong thing, and hey, all right, let's see if we can transform this problem into a solution. Let's see if we can do it on our own. So the great thing about Ecobricks is you don't need special machinery, you don't need special skills, you don't need money, you don't need politicians. You can start today with this, and put them together and make something.
And a little bamboo stick.
A little bamboo stick helps.
Would be very handy.
Yeah.
It's got a nice handle on it.
We do a lot of eco-bricking, so we have our own special sticks. This is Annie's.
My one.
Your wand. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Yeah. So ecobricks are a great way to take personal responsibility for your waste. It's a way that you, anybody, can start today with a plastic bottle, with your plastic, to go 100% zero waste. You know, this was a concept that's for so many people has seemed unattainable to be zero waste.
Sure.
But literally, we're seeing this in a different way. So
Yeah.
it's no longer waste or trash. This is not trash to me anymore. It's not something that can't be recycled. It's, oh, this is good for filling the bottom of my ecobrick to give it a nice color. Right?
Yeah.
So people can go zero waste, just like that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can I build a brick?
You
Have
can,
we got enough?
yeah.
Have we got enough? Did I need to bring my own plastic?
Yeah. Well, we can use our home plastic. Well, if you want to come inside and see how we deal with our plastic waste, it's really simple.
Let's
No?
see it.
No?
That's it. After you. Thank you. There we go. Thanks for having me in your home. This is the
You're
kitchen.
welcome. This is the kitchen, and this is just our basic segregation center. So we put the plastic in this one here.
This is a complex system. Let me follow. We've got two boxes here.
Yeah, this one got a little
Right.
mixed up. But this one is the paper.
Yeah.
Maybe we should redo this because normally it's really carefully organized. Okay.
Yeah.
This is how we organize the waste in the house. Here's the paper
Yep.
that can be burnt. So just stuff that is not going to be poisonous to the planet. Right? We can
Nice.
confidently burn in our garden. We can use the ashes to help grow stuff. Here's all our plastic waste. And I mean, Annie and I are pretty darn careful about the plastics we consume. We're careful, but even with that, we still have waste.
Sure.
So this is the plastic we've accumulated over the last 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
And we save it here, we dry it, we keep it as clean as we can. It's an ecobrick.
That's an eco brick right there.
Yeah. So let's take this out and I'll show you how it's made.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see what we got. The first step is choosing your bottle
Bottle
brand.
selection.
Mhm.
All right.
So you can see here we're partial to this particular brand, one particular brand, because in the end we want them all to be about the same height.
Nice. You want a consistent.
Consistent height to the bottles.
Gotcha.
Then we choose a nice color to go on the bottom of the brick. Because of course, afterwards, we can put them together and come up with patterns.
Nice.
Right? So
Yep.
this one's evolving here.
And
We
I
got
saw
blue
a
circle.
school writing their school logo wall in
Yeah.
with the colours.
Yeah,
and
right,
the-
right. So they planned that one out good in advance. We can start with the yellow here.
Good bright colour.
Yeah. Like to get smaller pieces so that it fits in well.
Here we are.
You can wrap that up.
Loving the plastic.
Loving the plastic.
You're right. I mean, it's truly extraordinary. It is tough. It's flexible. It's waterproof. It's airproof, and it lasts forever. That's remarkable.
It is, yeah. It's a
Right.
miracle, in a way. Yeah. Wherever Annie and I go, we always get the straws
Can I
afterwards.
build another one?
Sure. Well, here, why don't you work on this one?
All right.
Maybe this.
Yeah, you try that.
So you get the straws in there too.
It's yellow, so it goes well with our base
Right.
color.
Well, it's not difficult, is it?
Well, see.
All right. Building a yellow eco brick. Building the future. Can I borrow your wand?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So
That's it. Good.
I'm a natural.
Yes.
How's my technique?
Good. Let's get some more plastic in there now. We
Alright.
got the first layer of packing done. But in order to get it nice and strong, you need a lot in there.
All right.
Yeah. And we're not going to have nearly enough. So this looks like a lot of plastic
Yeah.
here. But if
It's
we were,
maybe only like here, even less than
Not
half.
going to do it.
remember small pieces?
Oh,
That's
it's
a
too
little
big.
bit too big.
What happens if I
Then-
use big pieces?
Then you're going to end up with pockets that are pockets of air. They don't compress very well.
Okay.
So much better to rip it up. into
Take your
pieces.
time, tear it up.
So this is just plastic. So it's no, what is that? No.
Yeah,
no
anything that
metal,
can't go in an eco brick.
No metal, no paper, no,
No glass,
no
no-
glass.
Nothing that's too sharp. Otherwise,
Sure.
as we pack it down, it starts to poke out and it can be dangerous.
Yep.
And it's
Makes
always
sense.
like in between the like this plastic, like thick one.
The foil. Yep.
Yeah,
Or
with
the-
the soft one. So the soft plastic is like
Ah,
too,
okay.
like going
Bit of
in
this,
all
bit of
this,
that.
yes.
So like layers.
Yes.
So here we go.
All right. Some little chip packets in there.
Yeah. Now here we have paper, right? And it could
Yeah.
fill in the brick.
Sure. Put a bit of paper in. Could
well,
be
no,
tempted to.
Yeah, you could be tempted to, but this isn't
And?
going to cause problems for the environment. This isn't poison. This is made
Okay.
from organic stuff. It'll biodegrade. So no worries there.
Oh, it does
that
compact
way.
down quite a lot, doesn't it?
Wait. That's right.
Hang on.
Okay, so
Oh.
we don't do this. Like this.
Okay.
Because then it's going to be like pop up, and this you see the how do you call it, the motif or the
Yeah.
it's going to be
Bulging out.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So we do it like this. So it's always here. So it's not really like this. And yeah, you're right. You do it like outside, so then it really can go down.
Well, you've done this before.
100 times. So yeah, you have to pack more, and then you.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
So yeah, only if you make like one brick full with a good quality, then you can imagine how much plastic really can go in. It's really like whoa. Like people always like, oh my god, it's like never-ending container. It's like.
It just keeps going,
Yeah.
keeps going.
And for this bottle, this size, the good quality is at least 200 gram.
Okay.
So then, yeah, for the good quality,
Like
like
a thick
compact,
plastic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For this size, so 600 milliliter.
Mm-hmm.
And this stuff here, this styrofoamy stuff, is completely unrecyclable. So if
Okay.
we weren't doing this, if this was going in a garbage can, it would end up in a dump site.
Is there
Or-
anything else anyone anywhere's doing with this stuff? Because there's a lot of it around.
There's a
Everything,
lot.
all your electronics, everything that you buy is wrapped in
we got
styrofoam.
from the electronic stuff as well.
Not really. There's a couple machines or techniques for stuffing the plastic together, make blocks,
Yep.
Ubuntu blocks, one a solution. But it's kind of the same technique, right? So we're making bricks with the plastic.
Sure.
That's about it.
Wow. Well, good thing the bricks are going to last for ages, right? That's awesome.
Makes good teamwork. People can work together to make this
Yeah.
thing. Annie and I often throw Ecobrick parties. So we have a bunch of people over. Everyone brings their plastic and we sit around and we
Sit around and
back-
eco brick.
yeah.
Make bricks. That's a great idea.
Yeah, everybody brings plastic from their home.
And not that different to what we would have been doing for parties a few generations ago. Sitting around and weaving baskets or
Yeah, true.
You know.
Yeah, true.
making things for the community, making useful stuff, working together.
Yeah.
Not going out and working at other jobs so we can buy stuff that was made in a factory somewhere else. And all completely
Exactly.
disconnected, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how creative have people got with this, with patterns and colours and...
Oh,
What
there's so
kind of
much
stuff
stuff
have you
going on,
seen?
right? There's so much going on. Back in the Philippines, people continue to this day, with schools and community groups, they continue to make gardens and playgrounds with Ecobricks. In the municipal town park of Bontoc, they have a giant snake built with Ecobricks. People have
see what you mean, down
arches
the
and all
edges.
sorts of crazy stuff. The town the signs with the different colors of Ecobrick bottoms, all sorts of different things.
And what is it a solution for construction, for accommodation, residential?
Hold on, let me see this, Patrick.
All right, what am I doing here?
Well, you can do this a lot better. So the trick is to take a piece down the side.
Ah,
And
okay.
get it all the way down.
Jam it in.
See?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now we make sure that the bottom is going to be nice and tight. So,
It's not just about squishing it in.
no, a little bit of technique there. See, there's a good example.
There you go. That's how you get it really solid, right? So yeah, residential construction.
Not so much the residential construction. What we've tried to emphasize with Ecobrick building are things like parks and gardens. There's a big deficit of playgrounds in Filipino schools, and also very little homegrown food. So by showing people how to build garden spaces and planting fresh vegetables and herbs and fruit trees and things like that, then people would have their own local food rather than having to buy the candies and the junk food that so often come in plastic.
Beautiful.
There's a direct connection we observe of polluting our bodies and polluting the world. All right? So you buy your snack in plastic, you eat it, it's not so good food, you pollute yourself, you chuck that plastic away, you pollute the world. And so we can see this connection emerging. And the way to heal that is to plant our food and grow it like we used to, right? So if the Ecobricks can help that, fabulous. So that was my work. Again, going around on my bamboo bike to different schools, working with all the Ecobricks the kids had made, and building gardens and playgrounds.
Wow. So what's been in Indonesia, in Bali and in Indonesia, how's the uptake been? Has it been big acceptance like it was in Philippines, or what's been your experience here?
So Annie and I began spreading the Ecobricks here in Bali. With meeting up with Annie, however, we've been able to move to Java and to Annie's hometown of Yogyakarta. And there we've been just observing a tremendous viral spread of Ecobricks within the fabric of the city.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
You want to say something?
We started from one workshop, and it was lucky. Yeah. It was so because it's covered by media, local media. So it's like seven local media newspaper. And then the next day it's like, whoa, Ecobrick. It's just in a very small school. And after that, I was thinking like, okay, let's try to connect with the communities. It's not school because my connection is more the community, neighborhood, something like that. So, and I have connections with if you heard about Bank Sampah, the waste bank community. So in every village every neighborhood has one at least. So then we try to connect with them, and through my friend, it's like I know one of them, and we showed up in their meeting, and they were already they read the newspaper and they wanted to make Ecobrick. It's like, whoa, and it's like, you know what? We are from. Do you recognize us? Because in the newspaper, like picture of us too with a bunch of students, and it's like, oh my God, this is Russell Maier. This is like, and then we actually want to learn how to Ecobrick. And the first workshop is just how to make Ecobrick, and then after that, the next is like they wanted to hear more about why and everything, and it's also like, wow, this is good opportunity. And then like we already have a strategy. Yeah, we did at that time we did already like many workshops in many places, but then with our strategy is like, okay, this is the first is workshop, and after that TOT, trainings of trainers. So then we really can, we train people, and then these people will be like us, spreading to their communities and more. And so
Annie and I would work together, the two of us, up in front of the stage, presenting in English and Indonesian how to teach Ecobricks to other people. Wow. And these folks who are already involved in community garbage trash programs, Bank Sampah as they're called, are already aware of the issues with plastic. They've been working with it for a long time. They know that, after they make something, there's all this waste, and where does it go exactly? Right? So we were preaching to the choir, and they began to sing. They jumped on Ecobricks right from the get-go and began to share it within their networks. So our original presentation, our original meeting, had connections out throughout the city, and fortunately enough, one of the government officials was also there who completely endorsed it. From that one meeting, within 3 months, we had
3-4 months. It's like they did 140 something workshops. So in one city, Jogja has 45 villages, and then they did it like 3 times in every village.
Wow.
And then also more, even in the prisons and schools and everything. So it's like 3 times workshop in every village, and they have different target groups. It's like women's groups, and then young people, and then the next is like other groups. So it's really like so spread, really like around the city. And the Bank Sampah network of Waste Bank Sampah has in one city 523. So that's now they're eco-breaking, all of them. And they start also in schools and in a neighborhood, not necessarily Bank Sampah, but it's like in a neighborhood, in a neighborhood unit, and yeah.
So Patrick, you mentioned how your sister is a little bit down about how pervasive the problems in the world seem to be and how they're spreading.
Sure.
But here we had an amazing example of how solutions can spread even faster than the problems. So again, within 3 months, from one workshop to going to literally tens of thousands of people packing their plastic. And now it's complete. So every single kelurahan, every single neighborhood unit of Jogja has now been introduced to Ecobricks.
Wow.
Back in June, after only 3 months of introducing Ecobricks, we had a presentation to the city officials to announce that Jogja was the first city in the world to adopt ecobricking.
Like formally, like officially.
Yeah.
Oh, and like,
We
wow,
had,
and
Annie and I stood up and presented the work of our trainers and of their workshops. Almost 3,000 ecobricks that had been combined into hexagon modules and Lego modules. And with these modules, you can combine them into all sorts of things. Here we have our table, right?
Yes.
And the way this is made is by using the bricks as Lego. So you can see here, you want to grab that hexagon for me?
Yep.
These will fit into each other just like Lego. And it locks on.
so then it's like a table.
This
really,
isn't
it's not
good.
good quality.
This isn't the best example, but you can see here how our table is super secure.
Yeah, totally.
Just the way that it fits together. The hexagons, you can see the bigger
So
hexagons.
that's just sitting on top of these 3 legs.
Yeah, no glue. It just fits together like that.
Wow. And these are silicon together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's solid.
Yeah, and you can build all sorts of amazing things with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've seen
so-
people getting a bit creative with the construction.
Oh yeah, tremendously
It's like
so.
in that launching, 1,000 bricks,
There we
yeah, 1,000 bricks in 100 modules. It's actually more than that because they want to keep themselves in their sub village or in their hamlet. So it's what submitted is actually only from the workshop, but people keep making and they
One
keep
of-
for themselves.
One of our
So in that-
challenges, our challenges with the presentation was that people are so proud of their work and so happy to make stuff with it that they don't want to share it. And we were hoping to get all the modules out to showcase, but many people want to
Keep it at home.
Yeah,
for
they
now.
were like,
so-
no, this is mine because with the pattern and decoration and everything. So in the launching, we use like 100, 200 or 300 modules, yeah, and we did so many things within like 2 minutes with the stage. 2 minutes we make a sofa and all the living room. 2 minutes we make a classroom, and 2 minutes they make the like landmark of Jogja, and they're so happy and to show how we can use these modules.
Yeah.
How we can the function of the modules.
Yeah. With our team of trainers, we were in front of the crowd and we coordinated the making of first stage so we can do our presentation on a nice little surface. And then from there, within 2 minutes, we had made a living room area, a couch, a table, chair for people to sit down and take pictures. And then we snapped our fingers again, and together we erected a togu, which is the landmark of
The
Jogja.
landmark of Jogja.
Yeah, wow.
And it's just like, wow, that was so fun.
It was a lot of fun.
And 100 people attended the event.
So very often I find lots of people who are on like a big environmental crusade
Yeah,
and they're
sure.
building a business that's all around sustainability, and the business itself and themselves financially, personally, is not necessarily always sustainable.
Yeah.
And it's 2016 and you guys are wearing clothes and eating food and living in a home, and
Right.
there's hard cost with that. So while you're out doing workshops and teaching people how to love this thing that we've seen as a problem, and really use it as a super valuable commodity that's going to last a long time. It's tough and it's versatile and it's amazing. How's that sustainable for you? How do you guys, what's going on?
Okay, good question.
What's the business of the business?
Well, this is something that Annie and I wrestle with on a day-to-day basis. There's tremendous support behind the Ecobrick movement.
Cool.
And notice that I didn't say Ecobrick NGO or corporation or business, I said Ecobrick movement. So this is really a people-powered solution, not just powering the packing of the brick, but the actual movement itself. So whenever we need anything, from animations to illustrations to translation, we have a network of ecobrickers around the world who are all too happy to jump in and contribute.
Awesome.
All our materials are open source.
Mm-hmm.
They've all been crafted and sourced by amazing professionals around the world who contribute their energy to this movement, who are like, this is a solution, what can I do to help? Here it is. And so you check out our website, ecobricks.org, you'll see it's got tremendous materials and great content on it.
In many languages.
In many languages, that has all been manifested without any money.
Wow.
As we commented before, money all too often is part of the problem and not the solution. And I've seen this in my work on the grounds, just the direct connection between capital and plastic.
Yep.
And so with our work, we've tried to do it with the goodwill and the good energy of collaboration. Working together, Annie and I are a great example, coming together to do something, but then also in teams and groups to making it happen. And it's amazing what you can do and how much faster it happens without money. People think you need money and capital to do stuff. It's not true at all. If anything, our observation is that slows down the process. We can move tremendously fast with our projects and our initiatives because we don't have budgets, we don't have accountants, we don't have to fundraise, we don't have to do anything. We just do it. We just start doing it. We know what we have to do. We know we have to get to this presentation. We know we have to have a movie. And lo and behold, someone shows up at our house to interview us.
Well, fantastic.
Right, yeah.
Right on. So for, I mean, is there anything people can buy? Is there any money involved in this for you guys in this whole thing?
We've continuously experimented with trying to sell ecobricks
Sure.
or having people make ecobricks to sell.
Yep.
And my observation and experience has been this has slowed things down again.
Yep.
That the motivation to make ecobricks is not financial.
Yeah.
This is important because here we're starting to transcend the capital-based system that's not just held us back, but is the root of so many problems, right? So when people make an ecobrick, they're not making it to make money. They're not making it to sell it, to make a product, to export. They're making it because they care about their community, their planet, and their environment. They know that plastic is a problem, and here's something they can do with it. They can put it in a bottle, and they can make something. And they sense, and they know that this is a good thing to do. This is a step forward. And so they do it. That's the motivation. That's also coupled with the feeling of working together with others. So there's nothing more meaningful for us humans than connecting with others, being part of something. And this is what Ecobricks, part of what the magic of Ecobricks is that, well, to be honest, this table, Annie and I didn't make this ourselves. That's a lot of plastic. We worked with the school to make this. Everyone worked together. Our intention was to build some furniture and make some modules. And together, over the course of a couple months, we were able to make lots of modules, this table included. And wow, what a great feeling to be able to make something beautiful with something that was once useless and waste, and then to make something beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So my sister says, people are people. Right?
Yeah.
I love that, because what she's talking about is we love doing things together, being together, and if the motivation for the people that I spend the most time with is to go to my job to make money, that's an interesting kind of experience for a lot of people. But if the motivation is, I care about my community, I care about the planet, I care about, this problem that's an issue, and I can do something about it, and I can use this plastic, this almost infinite free resource to build stuff that's structurally sound, that's useful, that's beautiful. Amazing, right?
Yeah, right.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So, and maybe this will be part of the thing, and maybe it won't. But how are you guys going for cash? I mean, because there's still hard costs in living in the world, and it's kind of the third time asking the same question. But so if we need to not, turn the cameras off.
No.
I know the answer.
Well, by asking that question about the cash, it often takes us out of the moment, right?
Stumped with the answers.
Yeah. Okay. So honestly, we spent our last cash today to buy this food. We spent our last cash today to buy this tempeh, this food to eat, and the tea. And tomorrow we've got more projects and interviews, but that doesn't concern us. We have food on the table tonight, and we're going to have a great meal, and we get to share it with you guys. And we're going to be off tomorrow on the next intention. And I've been doing this for years, and every single time it turns out better than I anticipated. Taking the leap of faith, but it's not just a leap of faith. I know that we have tons of people who resonate with what we're doing and are tremendously supportive. They're not able to travel around the world, around Indonesia like Annie and I can, but they can contribute. They can buy our airfares if necessary. They can treat us to a meal. They can give us a place to stay. And frankly, that's more rewarding for us than a big salary in a condo in Jakarta.
Yeah, ton of cash in the bank
for what?
Yeah.
So much better to spend your time connecting with people, dealing with a solution pressing to the planet, sharing it, and working together to make beautiful things out of ugly stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're freaking inspirations. That's all there is to it. It's
I'm
amazing.
still learning.
Yeah?
Still learning,
Okay.
Right.
How's it all feel?
There's food right there.
Yeah, it's really because I came from really career things,
Yeah.
I was really I was a researcher, I was a consultant, I was a
That's what we're
social
taught to do.
developments, specialists.
If you don't do that, you
you're
can't
working,
consume.
you're
Right,
working
exactly,
and you
yeah.
get salary every month, and it's really good salary, and you travel around the world. But then I quit and I decided I'll do this, and I met this guy. I was like, what? And it's really I'm learning, and it works.
Yeah.
Crazy. So but for the workshop and training though, because we also have some services, workshop and training. So of course we do it regularly and free, like Ecobrick party or with our friends or with any communities they want us. It's we are happy just to go there free, and we're having party, with the plastic and everything. But for some big organizations, big organization,
They'll often contribute and cover airfares
because they
or
want to
something
have,
like
for
that.
example, TOT, very serious 3 days full meetings. Then they cover everything, and they also paid us as a trainers.
You enjoy
That's
that work as
also-
well?
Yeah, it's so much fun, and we have big family everywhere around Indonesia now.
Yeah.
It's that. When are you coming? It's don't worry about the place. We have many houses here. We are happy to have you, and we want to have next project, and then it's again always coming. All the news is we're doing this, with the pictures and stories. It's wow, this is really something. For me, this is new. Living in this life, he's been doing this for years.
He's
really,
crazy, you know that.
It's crazy. That's putting intention there. So
Yeah.
I remember that conversation is no, we don't need money, right? We don't need to go to Jakarta. So we don't need money. We don't need ticket, right? Oh, we need to go there, but it's not money. So that's also really I'm really oh yeah, why we always think of money first and then we do something. It's always money first, and then after that we only can plan or anything, but we're planning, we put intention, and it works so far.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's so rewarding. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
We get messages and photos from people around Indonesia who we've trained, who've then trained others, and they're making stuff, and they're showing us what they've made, and to see how it spreads, and just to know that there's less plastic going into the ocean and the rivers and the fields. Wow, that's tremendously fulfilling.
Wow.
And and the people love us. It's really right?
Right?
It's really
I
something
get
that
that.
whenever we go, we do,
Yeah.
and it's really, even since the first day, it's like a family. And then the conversation, the chat, and everything, it's we're, wow, this is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's bring me to the first stage when I'm doing with community things, like pure community empowerment things, like, oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So where's all this going?
Right. Okay.
What's next? What's the future?
Well,
What do you see?
Yeah. Well, to get back to your sister's concerns about problems growing, what we're observing is a solution surpassing the problem in growth. So this isn't being picked up by the mainstream media here in Indonesia, but what we're observing on the ground is communities in Bali doing it, a city in Java doing it. We've spread to Indonesia, to Jakarta now.
Cool.
Last month, Annie and I were invited to do a presentation to NU. NU, I don't know if you've heard of the group. I hadn't heard of it. But it's the biggest Muslim organization in the world.
Uh-huh.
They're an organization here in Indonesia with tens of millions of members.
Wow.
They are concerned about their plastic. They've been trying to do something about it. They heard about us and what we were doing. And through mutual connection, we sat down with them and shared the technique. They had us present, they were so excited to have us present and to share this within their infrastructure and their organization that they invited their president, who in many ways is just as powerful or more powerful than the president of Indonesia.
Wow.
The chairman of this organization.
The chairman also.
And the representative from the ministry.
Yeah, the director of the environmental ministry in the Indonesian government. We also had a member of parliament show up, and we presented to them.
Big time stuff.
Big time stuff, but then also perhaps even more significant is NU also invited their keeners to a trainer of trainers afterwards. And so 40 of their keenest environmental teachers and community-based leaders we spoke to, and we showed them how to ecobrick and how to share ecobricks to their networks. And so from that moment on, it's been spreading within the biggest Muslim organization in the world.
Wow.
And we're just watching now as it starts to vamp up within their network.
Yeah.
And as far as I can see, it's going to be a national phenomenon just within a year or two. It'll just be something that people take for granted. Oh yeah, you've got plastic, you can ecobrick it. That makes sense.
That's what we do here.
It's going to be so wide. And I observed this in the Philippines, going from a crazy action to put plastic in a bottle to begin with the first few months. Then after 2 years, just everyone would do it. It's just common sense. You don't throw or burn your plastic, of course not. That's ridiculous. You don't recycle it, you put it in a bottle. You do it locally, and that's where we're headed in Indonesia, and it's just a matter of time now.
Wow.
Now that we have the endorsement of NU and these high-level people and then the grassroots movement, it's just a matter of time before it's a widespread activity.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so cool.
And also some people coming to Bali to meet us, and they're from Flores, eastern part of Indo and different islands.
Yep.
They heard about it and came to us and really want to learn, and they're spreading
Yeah.
their own islands or communities. It's really like wow.
Yeah.
So
And from this, like more connection. So it's like they wanted to invite us in a national something, right? It's more, like this happening all the time.
So how practical is it? I mean, it's one thing to be talking about Indonesia and Philippines, and if we're talking to people in Australia or the US or in Europe, in a very developed countries and civilized, sophisticated society, how practical a solution do you see eco-bricking in those kind of environments?
Oh, it's a tremendously practical solution for those environments. However, it's difficult for people to grasp the necessity of it because folks are so wrapped up in the illusion of recycling and the illusion of buying, selling, and throwing away that it's hard to see that it's a good idea or that it's necessary. People they're not connected with the end result of their consumption. So they'll buy, they'll throw in the recycling bin, and they assume that's the end of it. But what actually happens to their plastic after 2, 3, 4 years? What happens to those molecules that they're responsible for through their consumption? People aren't connected with that. One of the great things about the Philippines and Indonesia is all the scattered trash and plastic and the beaches that are full of it, because you can't escape the inescapable. You can't get around it. Plastic ends up back in the environment.
Yep.
Just it's just you see it and it's obvious. And so then people are challenged to think about it more and much more likely to begin taking responsibility for their waste.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely a big part of what's driven this whole thing for me, is living on the beach and seeing it wash up every season. And we go, wow, wow. Whereas in Australia, they've got tractors that come down early in the morning and pick it all up off the beach. So you come down in the morning and go, it's perfect, everything's so clean, it's so wonderful. And we lived on the Gold Coast for 5 years. And tons of plastic going onto the beaches. But it all gets scooped up and taken off and we never see it.
Yeah. And where does it go when it's scooped up?
Where does it go?
Right? We have some collaborations with movements that are picking up the plastic from the beaches. And they're happy about what they're doing, but they are faced with this question: where does it go next?
What do we do? Yeah.
What do you do with the stuff you've picked up on the beach? And there's no easy answers to that question.
Some of them they start eco-breaking.
Yeah, they started eco-bricking. Yeah.
That's an easy answer. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
I'm sold. I'm convinced. This is awesome. I mean, I love the idea. I love the concept. We'd heard about it and heard about the work you guys were doing, and I was stoked when I got, a couple of different introductions. That was really cool.
Yeah.
From some cool people. And now after really hearing this is
Good.
this is so powerful. So
Yeah.
thank you. Anything else before we wrap up that you'd love to share or anything?
Well, there's the website. I only mentioned the website once, but I'm sure you'll put that in there at some
Definitely
point.
have that featured there, and there'll
Yeah.
be links to it, and it'll come up on the screen as well.
Well, I could give a much broader overview of what's happening on the planet, on the world with Ecobricks and the general trash transformation movement. I could say something about that.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So this is, what we've talked about is Philippines, Indonesia a little bit. What else is happening with Ecobrick globally?
Well, you have to imagine that this isn't a rocket science idea. It's a super simple idea. I came up with it in my village in the Philippines just by chance, but other people have been doing this around the planet also, independently of each other, because they've got plastic and they've got bottles and they've made the connection, right? So around the world today, we've got ecobrick movements in South Africa and Central America, Brazil, all sorts of places where people are doing just this. And so we're connecting through our global Ecobricks Alliance to try and coalesce the movement a little bit more. And what I'm observing is that's part of an even broader movement, the trash transformation movement, where what we're doing with Ecobricks is we're revaluizing plastic.
Yeah.
There's another movement, there's another application called preciousplastic.org. And they've got open source machines that let you figure out how to make a device from locally available machines and parts to make bricks and stuff like that, or to turn the plastic back into little pellets.
Yep. So the guys are melting it down and into strings and chopping it up. And
to string out the plastic bottles. You've probably seen that on YouTube. And it's all part of a movement to revaluize plastic, to move away from trash and to move towards seeing plastic as a resource. And again, that's the most important, for me, that's the most important paradigm shift that we need to make to just transcend the whole trash and pollution paradigm altogether.
Wow.
The Igorot people had it centuries ago, and they've been living for hundreds of years. Indigenous peoples around the planet have been living for millennia in harmony with nature, with this paradigm. And we've got to learn from them. There's so much we have to learn from them. And this is one very particular thing that we need to grasp and adapt into our own lives and just how we see the world around us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much once again for taking the time and being able to connect, and for all the work that you're doing on behalf of my children for generations to come and kids everywhere who are going to be benefiting from this amazing work. That's such a credit to you, and I'm so grateful.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Thank you.